Well, let's stay with this story. Gauteng Health MEC Bandile Masuku and his wife Loyiso have been placed on special leave of absence. This, together with presidential spokesperson Khusela Diko, they will be subjected to the Provincial Integrity Committee of the ANC. Now, this is after allegations of corruption on a 125 million rand tender to supply PPE to the Gauteng Health Department surfaced. So let's get some analysis on this now with Professor Tinyiko Maluleke. He is a lecturer at the University of Pretoria. Prof, good morning to you. How much damage has been done to David Makhura's administration here in Gauteng, especially after driving the so-called open tender system for over 6 years now?
The damage is incalculable, Toli. Not just to the Gauteng government or to David Makhura, but to the ANC as a whole and to President Ramaphosa, if not to the country as well. Because this is a time when the citizens of the country ought to trust the government more, because we are in the middle of a pandemic of proportions that have not been known for more than 100 years. It's not a time for people and government to be distrusting each other. It's not a time to be dealing with these kinds of issues when we should be fighting a virus, at a time when nearly 5,000 South Africans have died and almost 500 South Africans are infected with the virus. We ought not to be doing this now.
Prof, there is the sentiment, or perhaps I should say sentiment is growing even louder now, that there's not much difference between the Ramaphosa administration and the so-called 9 wasted years under the Zuma administration. Is that a fair comparison?
Look, I think that it is reasonable for people to express disappointment and to express outrage after having been promised by President Ramaphosa himself several times over that he was going to fight corruption. And even when he made the announcement about COVID-19 relief funds, he promised that not a cent of the funds will go to the wrong hands and that everything is being done to make sure that no corruption happens. So people have every right to be disappointed by a man who promised them something different from what is happening. The truth, however, is probably that this man is unable to deal with the culture of corruption any better than his predecessors. That perhaps the culture of corruption is so deeply ingrained in the fabric and the DNA of government and the ANC that even Ramaphosa is not going to succeed. We are beginning to feel like that as a country.
Prof, this scandal, and just before talking to you, we listened to Thandisizwe Diko, the husband of Khusela Diko, who speaks for the president. And what this scandal has done, Prof, it's revived the age-old debate around members of the family of politicians who are in government doing business with the state. Is there a clear policy around this?
Well, there is the handbook, the ministerial handbook, the famous ministerial handbook, and some code of conduct or two that ought to guide us. The truth is we need to distinguish between issues of legality, lawfulness, and ethics. And just because something is lawful does not mean it is ethical. And so we should mature as a democracy and begin to talk at the level of ethics and not just at the level of law. Law is important and law must always take its course. But we're talking about ethics here. So if you and I bid for a tender, and I have all along been working in that area for years, have experience as a proven track record, and you have none. You've just started a company, and you get it, and we discover that you are connected to so-and-so in government. Of course, you can argue that, it was above board that I bid and I won. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't stop us from realizing that what is happening now is unethical. And this is the problem. How come that these tenders are going to people connected to someone in the president's office, someone in the MEC's office, someone in the premier's office, and so on and so forth? This is unethical behavior. It's not merely about lawfulness and legality.
Final question to you, Prof. You talk about the president's office, and we know very well that Khusela Diko is the mouthpiece of the president when he is not there. She is the face of the president. You have a husband who's decided that he's now going to take on this PR machine. And frankly, some people have said he's simply just digging himself deeper into this hole. He talks about how, to him, there's really no conflict of interest there, yet you have him doing business with the wife of Dr. Bandile Masuku, whose department is the one that allegedly awarded his company a contract. I mean, isn't there a clear case of conflict of interest there? And should this man keep talking? Because if he does, what happens to Khusela's future in that office of the president?
Well, we have to give the Dikos the benefit of the doubt insofar as no finding by any court exists yet, or by any investigation that they are guilty of anything. But we mustn't single them out as an aberration. This kind of behavior has been ANC behavior for years, where there is very little humility when faced with allegations of this nature, where people continue to insist on their innocence and sometimes even go overboard. It's a tendency that we have seen emerge again and again from the ranks of the ANC and the connected, because there are those who are connected to power. And so we are seeing him display the same kind of behavior in that sense. And I think we have reached a level where the people we elect and those connected to them even begin to disrespect us. Because if there's an investigation, you don't issue out long statements explaining stuff. You say, we are sorry, and there's a bit of sorrow in their statement, and then you say, let's wait for the investigation.
Prof, I couldn't have said it better. Thank you very much for your time and indeed your insights.